Hey there, everybody. Another week, another episode of Mobile Suit Gundam GQuuuuuX. Welcome back to the vlog review if you haven't watched this before. Basically, I'm just going to go over what happened in the episode and my quick thoughts about it. Before I get into what happened in episode 11 proper, I just want to say that if you are a big fan of this show, I think that's great. This show certainly has a good music and some good art design. It's very beautifully colored and the action's good. I like watching it because it makes my eyes happy. But I think at this point I can call it what it is for me and just say that I don't really like GQuuuuuX that much. Now, I wouldn't say the show is, like, terrible. I wouldn't put it up there even with Victory Gundam or Reconquista in G as far as, like, how much I dislike it. I think it's an enjoyable watch just for the action and the music and everything, but it's definitely, like, really low middle of the road for me. I just wanted to get that out of the way because I'll probably be a little bit more critical of what's actually happening now that I've kind of made up my mind on the show, and I just wanted to give you a heads up on like my overall thoughts. So, starting out this episode in the heart of the Ymogn'tho giant Kira super weapon, Nyan puts in a command key to make the next target the Earth. Wow, she's really willing to kill a lot of people to get her smelly hobo twink back. This blonde mushroom-headed guy who's definitely not Char and has showed up in one or two previous episodes, which I forgot to mention. Sorry that I skipped over him, but really he just kind of like shows up to stand in the background. He sees Nyan and Machu and calls them Alphaciders, which is a very interesting word. Machu attacks the G-Fred and is able to fend off its all-range bit attack by remembering Shalia Bull's advice, and I'm sure her superhuman reaction speed in the GQuuuuuX doesn't hurt. This fight's pretty cool and it has some great animation, but it gives me the feeling of one of those old Monty Ohm animations, God rest his soul, you know what I mean? It's just something about the way the giant robots move so fluidly and like kick their legs out and everything. It really reminds me of that Halo Metroid crossover from the late 2000s. Outside, Shalia is wiping out the Nyan Royal Guard. Man, Xavier kinda sucks as a new type, huh? He doesn't really get to do much. On the bridge of the Sodon, Lieutenant Simus tells them that Bull's goal is to eliminate Kaisilia. And then Kamali is like, a true new type would never do that. What do you know, lady? You think you're better than me just because you're in the intro for some reason, despite having like 10 lines of dialogue in the entire show? Sorry, I'm based and Shalia bull-pilled now. Machu asks Nyan why she would do what she did, and she's like, I don't know, it just kinda happened. What'd you expect me to do? But Machu is determined to stop Nyan from using the Ymogn'tho and to save Lala from the Rose. We get a lot of Machu cockpit reaction shots, which I do like, but they have to aura farm her now because there's only like one episode left. To activate the Omega Psychommu overdrive, Machu has to shoot the system in the cockpit with a handgun, which I actually laughed out loud at that. Like, alright dude, that's really silly. So now Machu has direct control and all the safeties have been turned off. Machu's able to rip off a piece of the Rose of Sharon and bust through its time freeze because of the Omega Psychommu, and Machu and Nyan are then blown away by a big blast from the Rose. Machu then wakes up to find Shuji's Force Ghost directing her towards something, so she follows it after getting out of the cockpit, and Nyan sees that and does the same, but she's smart and like stays in her mech. I don't really know why Machu gets out of the GQuuuuuX at this point. Kaisilia meets with the blonde man on a stage that is inside the Ymogn'tho station, and it's also the stage from Zeta Gundam. Somehow, I didn't expect the stage to be an Easter egg, but okay. I didn't expect like the background of the show to be a character from another show showing up, but She reveals that she knows that this blonde man is Char, and he's been hiding among the staff working on the Ymogn'tho ever since he disappeared in that Zeknova. Kaisilia wants to kill everybody on Earth because they cling to the old way of life and they're dumb and stupid, and humanity needs to move on and live in space. She asks Char if he thinks the same way and to come back to her side, but this Char hasn't seen Camille be turned into a potato by new type magic yet, so he isn't a genocidal maniac. Machu crashes through the ceiling and lands directly on her fucking face. Like, I don't know how she didn't break her neck. There's got to be lower gravity here, for sure. Right as Kaisilia is about to kill Char. Then Nyan busts through the wall and Char and Machu escape down a hole that goes directly to the main Ymogn'tho shaft. That seems like a really dangerous hole to have in the middle of a stage. I know there's like a wet floor sign around it or whatever, but Jesus. Down inside the main shaft, the Rose of Sharon begins to glow, and we see that it's actually summoned the Red Gundam from somewhere. The wave of Kira energy washes over them, and it pops Char back into his one-year war outfit in a near magical girl transformation sequence, because that's how Lala remembers him, apparently, and her new type magic can do that. This is where I kind of like rolled my eyes a little bit and was like, okay, whatever. The show can just, new type magic and GQuuuuuX can literally just do anything, and it doesn't matter. Like, there's not really even a point to think about it, because it can just, it's like Piccolo's clothes beam in Dragon Ball Z, you know? It just works. It's just a thing that can happen. Machu then asks Char how he knows Shuji, and he says that Shuji just showed up one day and he was a very powerful new type. But now he's been possessed by the idea of Lala inside the Rose and has been basically obsessed with her. So Shuji still doesn't get a backstory at this point, really. More is revealed later on in the episode, but we still don't know anything about him, pretty much. Except that now his character motivation the entire time has been to free Lala from the Rose. Why he was all the way inside 6, I'm not entirely sure. Char then gets in the Red Gundam and takes off, saying Lala isn't supposed to be in this timeline and he will ensure her erasure. Machu goes back through the theater room for some reason, and Kaisilia tries to shoot her, but Nyan shoots Kaisilia in the back instead. This part actually I kind of laughed out loud too, because it's framed almost in a comedic way, with Machu just sort of like floating through the background like, oh geez, what did I just fucking see? Shit. But I'm actually just as shocked as Kaisilia here. I mean, Nyan's character arc has swung back and forth so hard in the last 2 episodes that I didn't really expect her to shoot her. I mean, Nyan was ready to pull the trigger on the entire Earth for Kaisilia, or at least what Kaisilia promised her, and then she shoots her for Machu, who is a person she pretty much barely knows, and even when they did spend time together, they didn't even like each other that much. Man, the outro of the show carries Nyan and Machu's friendship so hard, because the only real screen time they got together was competing over Shuji and kind of being mad at each other. Also, I feel like I get character progression whiplash with Nyan, because it was only a few episodes ago where she straight up told Kaisilia that she does not trust her during that dinner, and I even made a remark about it in the video. Like, I like this aspect of Nyan's character. She's street smart. She knows that Kaisilia is just using her. And then the next time we see her, she's totally trusting of Kaisilia and is willing to commit a genocide for her. Which, it just feels like, wow, okay, I guess that aspect of her character's gone. And I suppose you could say it's because she's a new type and she's probably open to being more easily manipulated because of that part of her. And Kaisilia, you know, obviously knew that she had never really had like any sort of like familial affection, so giving that to her, she was able to manipulate Nyan into doing this, but like, show that. You know, like we got that one scene where she was brushing her hair and then had a gun, but Nyan didn't even seem to fully trust her then. So I don't know, man, like it's very strange and a weird way to do it. It kind of felt about as half-baked as that poisonous cake in that one episode back on Side 6. Char's about to destroy the Rose when Machu and the GQuuuuuX show up and try to stop him. Shuji's Force Ghost appears and stops them from fighting, and then Lala begins to wake up. Shalia Bull says the Minovsky particles that originate from the other side can be observed as light, so I guess that explains why the Kira Kira looks like that in the show, which they didn't really need to explain that. I would have rather had time be spent on a character actually having a good backstory as opposed to explaining why the new type Minovsky particles look different in this version of the show. I guess I just don't personally care about that. Shalia uses the impending true Zek Nova of Lala waking up, the attribute of that of heightening a new type's senses, to find Kaisilia so he can go and kill her. And then he gets in a fight with Xavier because Xavier's still loyal to Kaisilia, and obviously neither of them know that she's been shot in the back and is like proceeding to bleed out. Inside the pending Zek Nova, we learn that Shuji is from the other side, and his true goal is to destroy this world that the trapped Lala has created. So, the Lala that's inside the Rose of Sharon, who's been locked in time, has essentially created this alternate UC timeline through her new type powers to protect Char. So this is like the one UC timeline where Char doesn't die. I don't know, that doesn't really make a lot of sense because Char doesn't die during the 1 year war in the original UC timeline, so I'm still thinking that, like, in the perspective of this show, the original Universal Century has never happened yet, because remember, Lala said that Amuro always kills Char during the 1 year war, except for this one time. So I'm thinking that, like, at the end of this, like, maybe like shit happens the next episode, and my guess is going to be everything is going to be like mushed together into the original timeline. And then we see the original Gundam coming from the other side. If I had to guess, this Gundam probably does not have Amuro in its cockpit. It probably is empty and will be piloted by Shuji in the final episode for the big confrontation, because despite Machu being hot for Shuji this whole time, now he's the big bad enemy because he wants to destroy the entire universe, essentially. Which makes him wanting to paint the Kira Kira over everything back in the early episodes a lot darker, now that I think about it. So, yeah, I don't know, man. If you had asked me how I thought this show would go back in the first 6 episodes, I don't think I could have ever come up with the things that happen in this episode. It's fun to see the UC characters. The action is fun, but I just don't think the storyline is it, at least for me. I don't care about multiverse stuff. I don't care about correcting the timeline, crossing over timelines. I would have much rather just had an original anime by Studio Kara that took place in the Gundam world. Even if you wanted to do an alternate universe UC timeline, that would have been cool too. I would have liked to see a Zeon 1 the 1 year war show that doesn't have this weird multiversal spin to it. And that's what I thought this was at first. So I don't know. I never would have guessed it. And I don't think that if this wasn't Gundam, I would have watched it all the way through, honestly, because this show can't exist without it being Gundam, because it hinges completely on the original show. I don't know, I'm just spinning my wheels at this point. So yeah, let me know down below what you thought of episode 11 of Gundam GQuuuuuX. I think I've said every variation of the show's title at this point in the video. Are you totally on for the ride on this show? Are you liking where it's going? Would you have rather have had like a traditional war story? Would you have rather had an alternate universe Zeon story that doesn't have the multiverse stuff? Or are you really liking it? If you're really liking it, then that's good. I think I would like to hear your perspective. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this week's vlog review, and I will see you next week for the final episode. See you then.